was all there in front of your face, you know. Welcome to reality.
The man you're looking at is 24-year-old YouTuber Randy Stair. He's obsessed with two things not often found together: the cartoon Danny Phantom and Columbine. Although this should have raised red flags when Randy's descent into madness went overlooked by those around him. Nothing would stand in his way from becoming a mass killer. The last line here to share another shocking, interesting, or just strange, but very true story with you. Today's subject is Randy Stair, more popularly remembered as Andrew Blaze. Despite being known by his YouTube pseudonym, I'm going to use his legal name, Randy, when talking about him, as this is the name that would eventually become infamous. What makes this case uniquely disturbing is the fact that Randy actually videotaped everything up until the day of his massacre and left behind a trail of disturbing clues in preparation for his final plan. And although all the signs were there that something was about to go very wrong, Randy's fans either ignored it or didn't take it seriously. But Randy was dead serious. And I'm not exaggerating when I say the motive behind his massacre is the most bizarre I've ever heard. Randy first became interested in YouTube in 2008, eventually creating a channel called Pioneer Productions. At first, his content seemed pretty normal. He created Let's Plays, filming himself and his reactions as he played video games. And sometimes, he'd act out skits with a toy frog and stuffed whale. He rubbed shoulders with some popular creators in YouTube's early days. He was mentioned at one point in a Ray William Johnson video, bragged that Fred supposedly liked one of his videos, and was even friends with Plasma Master Don, a YouTuber who recently died and was then allegedly exposed as a sex offender. But as Randy's videos went on, there was a noticeable change. You see, Randy was obsessed with the Nickelodeon cartoon Danny Phantom, which follows the adventures of main character Danny Fenton, who became a human-ghost hybrid after an accident involving the portal between the human world and the ghost zone. This is where Randy first saw the character Ember. She was his first crush, and the moment he laid eyes upon her in his late elementary years, he said he instantly felt something change within him.
Show called Danny Phantom, which started back in 2003, 2004. You know, I was in late elementary school at that time. But this ghost, this woman always connected with me. But ever since I first saw her, something changed. And it wasn't like I grew up or anything like that. Like I realized, oh my gosh, I'm attracted to girls and all this. No, it just, something changed. It was like a spark. And it just connected with me. It made me feel warm inside. And it felt very familiar, which was strange. It was like I'd seen her before.
He said his official Ember phase started in 2010, but later admitted this obviously wasn't a phase. It was a realization. As Randy fell deeper down the rabbit hole of this infatuation, he began creating his own spin-off characters, also known as OCS, original characters, along with an animated series based on the show. He called it Ember's Ghost Squad. Clearly inspired by Ember. Randy became so invested in his series that he even plastered stickers of his fictional characters on his car. What began as a harmless fandom hobby was quietly transforming into something much darker. But in hindsight, perhaps the signs of Randy's dark side were already there in his early years. As a child, Randy was described as shy and withdrawn. He desperately wanted friends, yet he was already struggling with morbid thoughts of death in elementary school, fantasizing about boarding a plane that would crash so he could die instantly. Death became a recurring theme in the games he played.
It's not that easy. I can't suffer, not just me, but all the people who made me suffer.
Why do you want to die so much? It's good to be living.
No, it's not.
Randy's loneliness followed him into high school. Though he said he had a few friends, he never had a girlfriend and never went on a date. It was during this time that Randy began crying out for help through attention-seeking behavior, writing disturbing stories in class where his characters met horrific and violent deaths.
I must have wrote like 4 or 5 stories where the character got killed at the end, and I actually turned these in as assignments, and I never got like any like weird looks from the teacher or anything. She was a nice teacher and everything, really great. Yeah, the teacher never like felt concerned or anything. I just remember not getting any feedback in terms of that, so I don't know what she was thinking, but...
Soon enough, Randy began pouring more and more of his time into Pioneer Productions, and before long, YouTube had become his entire life. He decided to dedicate himself completely to the channel, shutting out everything else around him. But the deeper he went, the more isolated he became. His videos were almost always filmed alone, his voice echoing through empty rooms. Something inside Randy started to fracture during his final years of high school, as the reality of adulthood crept closer. His grades began to slip, and he grew to despise his job at the Weiss supermarket, a place that would later become synonymous with his name for all the wrong reasons.
You know, the typical teenage drama you deal with, and
With no idea what he wanted to do with his life, Randy began drifting down a dark path. He grew fixated on the idea of death, even fantasizing about setting himself on fire like the cartoon character he idolized, Ember, and ending his own life. Then, something happened that would change him forever. One of his brother's friends, Tom, was killed in a car crash.
He was in my brother's grade. He's a grade below me, but I've had a class with him before and whatnot, so I knew him. And he died on his way to in school in the morning, crashed into a tree, smashed into a tree, dead on arrival at the hospital. And that was the first time I got messed up. That messed me up.
Though he hadn't known Tom well, he said the death hit him harder than he could explain. From that moment on, his daydreams in class were consumed by only two things: YouTube and death. His growing fixation with mortality soon turned into a strange, yearly ritual. Every year, on the same day Tom died, Randy would drive by the exact spot of the crash, reliving the tragedy over and over again.
What happens after you die? I want to do everything I possibly can in life before I'm dead. And that's just a scary thought. It's like everything has to end sometime. I'll be dead one day. You'll be dead one day. It's not good to think about stuff like that. I know this is scary stuff, but it is just weird, and I think about it too much.
Randy claimed tragedy struck again when one of his few new friends, Matt, was killed in a sudden car accident. In his journal, Randy wrote, "Tom's death sucked the life out of me. Matt's death killed me. It was the moment everything inside him seemed to collapse."
Doesn't matter what you do, you're gonna die. You'll end up dead one day. It's like right now. Someone right now is going to sleep. They're gonna wake up tomorrow and be dead. Someone's gonna die tomorrow that just went to sleep. And they don't know that. They're gonna go to sleep now, wake up tomorrow, go into the world, and they're gonna die somehow. Car accident, heart attack, some other supernatural force or whatever. Yeah, I think about that a lot too, which is weird. I think about death a lot. And I take no shame in thinking about dying a lot, but I seriously do think about death all the time, and it's not a good thing. Death is not fun to think about. In a way, it's like an escape. For me, it is.
Not long after, Randy got into a car accident himself, and it flipped a switch in him. His obsessions deepened, twisting darker than ever. He became terrified of aging, disgusted by the thought of growing old, and convinced that living past 30 wasn't worth it. From that moment, Randy decided he wanted to die young, and soon.
There would be no possible way I could live until I was 60-something. Not a chance in hell. Honestly, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how people get up every day and go to like a dead-end job, come home, do the same exact routine every day, every weekend. How do you honestly do that? I was never able to compute it in my head. How do you live on this planet for decades upon decades upon decades? I honestly don't know how you do it.
At the same time, Randy's fixation with the cartoon character Ember grew into something far more disturbing. In his journal, he wrote, "I miss my cartoon-like form. Bodies in this dimension are tolerable, but they're nothing compared to that dimension."
And that's when Ember came back into my life. It was in 2013. That was it. From that point forward, she never left my life again, ever.
Randy became convinced that after death, he'd finally return to his true form, a ghost girl, just like Ember. He believed he'd live on with the fictional characters he'd created in Ember's Ghost Squad. He called this his big realization, that he didn't belong on Earth at all. To him, the only way home was through death. Around the same time, he began struggling with his gender identity, quietly experimenting with bras and writing about feeling trapped in the wrong body.
I guess what it came down to was I felt like I was like transgender or something. Like I felt like a woman the whole time, which spiritually I'm a woman. I'm a female soul. But I had to live in a man's body to do what I set out to do. That was my soul contract. That was what I was meant to do.
He eventually stole clothes out of his mother's closet and cross-dressed when no one else was home.
I was cross-dressing ever since high school. When you guys would go to your bowling leagues and Jeremy would go with you, I would either film a YouTube video, back in early high school, 9th, 10th, 11th grade. I would pretty much always film a YouTube video between 9th and 10th grade on every Wednesday when you would go out the door. So I would either film a video or I would cross-dress. And that's something I've kept to myself my whole life. I never told anybody about this.
He wrote in his journal, "I sit here alone on my bed, wearing my girl clothes. Why am I damned to spend decades in this disgusting body?" I'm not a man. Sorry, Mom and Dad, but I'm not sorry. I'm a woman. A femme soul. Randy began changing his appearance to match his ghost girl fantasies. He skipped meals, shaved all his body hair, and used a woman's razor, even leaving it out in plain sight. Shocked, no one seemed to notice. It was like nothing he did mattered anymore. And that thought pushed him towards something far darker.
Every year of my life since 2013, I just felt more and more feminine. Can't even explain it. Look at the bathroom. Look at where my stuff was. You'll see there's a girl's Venus razor there. There's the Skintimate stuff that girls use to shave their legs and arms with. Every 3 days since like 2016, I've been shaving my arms and legs and entire body every 3 days. It's just one thing I'll say is like that white stain on the floor, like that splotch you'll see on my carpet. That was an Ember thing. I wanted to make my skin as white as possible to look like her. I wanted it to be completely white, so I bought this body paint, which was like, I don't even know what it was. It was like latex that like, it becomes like glued to your skin and you gotta peel it off. And it got on the carpet and then it got freaking in my body hair, which like almost never came out at the time. What little body hair I had at the time anyways, but that stuff never came off. It's funny. Yeah, you're over there sleeping and here I am at 3 in the morning covering myself in this latex.
Randy's inner turmoil only deepened. His fixation on Ember grew stronger, but soon a new obsession took hold. The Columbine High School Massacre. He began spending hours on Columbine forums, joining threads filled with Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold memes. One post joked about survivors taking final exams, and Randy casually replied, "Tests had to be the last thing on their minds." What began as curiosity turned into unhealthy fascination. He admired the killers, seeing them as misunderstood. By 2014, during a live stream, Randy told his followers he wouldn't be around much longer and might be leaving YouTube, a chilling hint at what was coming.
Not leaving right this second. It could be a year, it could be a little bit longer than that. I don't have anything set in stone or anything like that. There's multiple reasons for it. I don't know, I don't really know what to say. It's just like, I'm leaving in like a year.
Randy vented that YouTube was all he'd ever wanted, his one real purpose. He called college a total waste, saying his mass communications degree meant nothing because he'd never work in that field. After 6 years of grinding on YouTube, he felt like he'd failed. Accepting that and finding another way to live was unbearable.
Like, it's not really, YouTube's not a job or anything like that, but it really is like I have 2 different jobs in my life and having to balance each one. The one I care about most is YouTube, but it's not a job. And that's literally all my time goes into the YouTube channel. I just can't deal with everything anymore.
Meanwhile, he stayed stuck at his supermarket job, hating every second, but needing the paycheck to survive.
For 4 years, I'm about to set the place on fire. Right now, that's my only source of income, and I'm not making a lot. I wish I could just do this forever. I wish I could just interact with viewers, do videos, but life doesn't allow that.
He also said something very telling.
There's so much more than just like real life problems. There's other stuff too, that just what's in my head of what I want to do, and just things I don't want to say publicly because it would hurt a lot of people.
Even after that bleak live stream, Randy said 2014 turned out to be one of his best years. And for a moment, his desire to escape his human body faded. But peace never lasted long with Randy. By 2017, his dissatisfaction had returned stronger than ever. He decided it was finally time to act. Before doing so, he wanted to finish his Ember's Ghost Squad animation, his final project, and secure a weapon. He tried to assign a symbolic date to his plan, using the letters EGS as numbers, E for 5, G for 7, and S for 19, meaning May 7th, 2019. But as the days passed, his patience ran out. 2 years was too long to wait. Randy was ready to die, to become the ghost girl he believed had been trapped inside him all along.
is it. There's a lot on my mind. If you're in my position, you'd have a lot on your mind too. Every day I have to make count. You know, this is it. Just under 2 weeks to live. You got 2 weeks to live. What do? Goddess forbid if somebody does see me blocking the exits, I don't know what they'd say. I don't know what I'd say. Tired of the same old routine. Tired of everything but my girls. That's really it.
During this time, Randy began recording a series of tapes for his parents. Messages he planned to upload right before his death. In them, he ranted about his hatred for humanity and called himself a narcissist, admitting he loved rewatching his own recordings. His journals were filled with disturbing pages about Columbine, where he claimed to feel a deep connection to Eric Harris. He also revealed vile, hateful views toward entire groups of people, showing how twisted his mindset had become. Meanwhile, his plan to finish Ember's Ghost Squad was falling apart. The voice actors he'd hired weren't fast enough, and one animator backed out after learning about the project's dark theme. A fictional school shooting titled The Westboro High Massacre. Randy was furious. His fantasy world was crumbling, and he was almost ready to make it real.
Still don't have it. I sent the script in March. It's June 2nd. Where's my voiceovers, Laura, that I paid for? Where are they? Better have that voiceover by Monday, Laura. You're dead. Makes you feel like you don't even matter. Remember that when you work with people in the future. Because I expected to have this months ago. At least say what's going on so I know. It makes you feel like you don't matter. What the ever. People are worthless sacks of shit. Nobody cares until you're dead. It's the sad truth of life. Watch all my social medias. I can't believe he's dead. I'm so sad. I loved his videos. You haven't seen jack on my social media since. And after this happens, people will be like, man, I wish I would have talked to them more. Well, too late. It's always what happened with my fan base. As much as I love my fans, no one said jack to me until I said something big. Like, oh, I'm leaving. If nothing major was happening, it was like I didn't even exist. What the ever. I swear to goddess. People can say they cared about me all they want. You didn't show it. But I was subscribed to you for years. Who cares? You never said anything. People say they care. I don't care. It's too late now.
Eventually, everything collapsed. The people Randy was working with cut ties, his animation stalled, and his obsession began to boil over. That's when he went out and bought 2 shotguns. In his journal, he wrote chillingly, "You were a fool to trust me with that shotgun."
That just happened. That just fucking happened. Oh my goddess. Oh my goddess. I am armed. I am armed.
I got it! I got it! 2 Mossberg 500 shotguns!
My boss has been trying to get on day shift or second shift. He had an opportunity to get it, but the way things are looking, he's not gonna get it. So then also put me like on the clock here because it's like he's been trying to look for other places to work. The way I see it, I can just barely have enough time to do all this within 4 weeks. I want it to be the night of June 9th. I can't tell my parents that I have 2 shotguns now. They know I have the one, but then if they see that I have the exact same gun, but 2 inches shorter on the barrel, it'd be like, why do you need that? And that's when it starts to get into like personal stuff. Like, why do you need 2 shotguns? You're scaring me. Please don't start buying more guns. You know, I have all the pieces. I'm just waiting on getting some eyeliner. So far, it's been okay. I've gotten an occasional like, why are you obsessed with this Columbine? But other than that, virtually nothing. I don't think people would actually think I would actually consider doing something like this.
Randy started filming himself taking target practice right in his backyard. Someone else was behind the camera, recording him calmly firing his shotgun. And you can't help but wonder who was filming and how they didn't realize what was coming. Because Randy wasn't just shooting for fun. He was wearing the exact same shirt Eric Harris wore on the day of the Columbine Massacre. The black natural selection shirt. From there, things spiraled fast. Randy began posting cryptic tweets and leaving notes hinting at what he was planning. He even wrote the date, June 7th, the day he'd carry out his massacre. He wasn't hiding it. He wanted people to notice, but nobody did, not even his parents. In his journal, he sounded almost disappointed, writing that he wore his natural selection shirt again and again, and they still didn't catch on.
None of you knew what it meant, which blew my mind. I didn't want to tell you that, so I kept that under wraps. That's a warning sign.
He wrote, "How she hasn't questioned me, or seen the signs is beyond me."
Looking back now, you might realize, geez, I don't know how I missed it. You might just start having flashbacks in your head of certain things, like certain situations where it's like, wow, that was one of them, or that was a warning sign right there. Or
He wondered in his journal if he would have fangirls who would obsess over him. That'd be great, he wrote. He began tweeting a series of alarming messages, not only on his main Twitter account, but on the variety of alternate Twitter accounts he had created to roleplay or pretend to be his characters.
wrote all this dark, brutal, morbid, grim stuff into my videos, and people ate it up and they loved it. They didn't realize that I actually meant it all. I started posting on all my social media how I really felt. Ember was always there in this dark place, like I mentioned. She fueled me to do this. It was like she told me to do this. Do it for the Ghost Squad. You know, we need more souls.
Randy's delusions had completely taken over. He even convinced himself that one of his own fictional characters, Mackenzie, was his soulmate. He drew pictures of himself as a ghost girl, holding hands with her, captioned, "Love this girl." He ran multiple Twitter accounts, each one posing as one of his characters, tweeting back and forth like they were real people. But it was just him, talking to himself. From the Ember's Ghost Squad account, he posted, "If you think your body is ready for June 7th, you're gravely mistaken. 17 days. Number sign big things, number sign June 7th, under another alias." He wrote, "Andrew isn't crazy, just caught between two worlds and dimensions." To outsiders, it looked like twisted roleplay. But Randy wasn't pretending anymore. His alter egos had taken over, and one, named Rachel, was openly obsessed with Columbine. By now, Randy couldn't tell fantasy from reality. He was convinced that when he died, he'd come back as one of his ghost girls. And as the countdown ticked toward June 7th, he flipped a coin to decide whether his massacre would happen at home or at the supermarket where he worked.
Okay, so here's the deal. Got a 1983 quarter right here. You believe in fate? Here's the fate test. I'm gonna flip this 3 times, or the best out of 3 rather, and if it's heads, I'll do it here. If it's tails, supermarket. Best of 3. Here we go. I'm not gonna touch it. You will see it as I see it. If I can find it. There it is. That's a tails. See that? Number 2. Looking at it. New land use of here. Heads. Had to be, huh? Have to have it come down to the very last coin flip. Okay, this is it. For all the marbles. Except we're playing for like much more than marbles here. I can't believe I'm having this come down to a coin flip. The flip of a coin. Here it goes. 1, 2, 3. It's gonna land behind the camera, just to the side. I can't see it. I see it in the grass, but I can't see it. Tails. That is a tails, folks. Tails. Which means there's going to be a loss of a human life, besides my own. Possibly more than one. That's fate for you.
And just like that, it was decided. With something as silly and trivial as the flip of a coin, the fates of innocent people were sealed, and they had no idea about any of it.
Ready to go. 6 more nights, it'll all be over. You hear that? That's how quiet it's gonna be in my house for a week. I want to know how everyone's going to take this. How much they're going to cry. How long are they going to cry for? For all I know, this story could just be headlines one day around here and then be gone. It might not even become anything for all I know.
On June 1st, 2017, Randy posted that he was going to need the help of his fans the next Wednesday night. Randy said he needed someone to record a brief live stream of him.
Facebook. I know something's going to end the stream. It's going to get cut short. Going to get reported, flagged, whatever.
In his next message on June 2nd, Randy talks about the Westboro High Massacre video he made, which he promised would come out on June 7th.
What happened? What the happened, man? This is surreal right now, but I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think this is going to be my last video. I don't know what will happen to my channels after this. I don't know what people are going to think of me after this. It doesn't bother me, but just looking at everyone at the supermarket, the manager's coming in, just messing around, talking about this, and 4 more nights, your whole lives are going to be turned upside down because of me. I'm going to f your life up. I can't wait. I want that supermarket to be closed for like a month or go out of business. It's a crime scene. It's going to be a crime scene. And then it'll be over. And then everything will just be thrown away. Whoever would have thought that a cartoon character would cause this to happen? A cartoon character. How can a cartoon character bring all this out in you? How is that even possible? The biggest question will always be, why? I only partially told you why. I'm not going to tell you everything. And there's stuff that you still don't know about me that I'll never tell you. I'll take it to the grave. Em, you want a chip? I'm not a psychopath. I don't hunt people down and kill them. I need to eat something substantial. I'm dying here. Take away YouTube, I'm nothing. I mean, there's other dimensions out there besides Earth. There's going to be a big eternal war. I will be laughing my white ghost female ass off when I get messages saying, you know, I help people get through dark times, or I change their life, you know, or my videos make them laugh their ass off or put a smile on their face. You know, that's all I ever really wanted deep down. It wasn't there in the beginning. Like in the beginning, I just wanted to be like, I wanted to get famous from it. That was pretty much it. But I was like Onision that had an actual decent fan base pretty much. Personally, I actually used to watch Onision back in 2009. I used to use his music in my videos. And I just sort of went, like, all right, he's making really weird that I don't care about. So, because he would cross-dress and I'm like, no thanks. Even though I cross-dress myself. It's kind of funny. Pretty similar with some things we view. I say really brutal shit on Twitter sometimes, but people support it sometimes. It blows my mind. It's like, cool. It's a man's world. Men. Women are better. I'm gonna miss you guys. I really am. My emotions just aren't what they used to be. Yet the most random thing in the world can make me cry, but things that are supposed to make you cry, they don't. Let It Go and Frozen made me cry. A lot. Not just once, numerous of times. Like almost every time I'd watch the movie, and I watched the movie like 20 times. Life's real short. Sometimes it feels like an eternity, but life's so damn short. And look at me, it's like I blinked and I was 24 and a half. And I'll die 24 and a half. I sit here and I ask myself, would I do it all over again if I could? I'm gonna be dead before next week ends. I'll be dead. Legit dead. This is it. So, okay, I'll miss you guys. I'll miss you a lot. Some of you, maybe I'll see you on the other side. And this is Andrew Blaze, signing off for the last time. Enjoy the rest of your lives. Andrew, out.
That night, Randy returned to the store. He quietly moved through the back rooms, blocking emergency exits with pallets so nobody could get out. When he walked onto the shop floor, he pulled the 2 shotguns from his duffel, the twins he'd named Mackenzie and Rachel, and began his attack. Employees who'd worked with him for years were suddenly trapped and terrified. Gunfire echoed through the aisles. One co-worker, Kristen, froze at first, then finally bolted for the front doors. She smashed past the pallet and ran to safety, but 3 other employees did not survive.
I gave them names. The first one I bought, I called Rachel, and then I called the smaller one Mackenzie, after Mackenzie West. As much as you might find it hard to believe, in this poster, I'm the one wrapping my arms around her. That's me.
Again, this is a reference to Columbine, as Eric Harris also named his firearm. But Randy didn't stop there. Eric had etched the name into the firearm, and Randy decided to do the exact same thing.
Now I duct taped the pistol grip thanks to Eric Harris.
It's in this video that Randy declares, "I've been stepped on my whole life. Not anymore. I've had enough of this putrid planet, and I'm going to leave my mark." Hours later, he'd make sure of it. On June 8th, while working the quiet night shift at Weeks Market, Randy wasn't stocking shelves. He was sealing exits with pallets, trapping 4 co-workers inside. Calmly, he took out his phone, posting his final tweets and videos. Suicide tapes. Then, he locked the main doors, pulled out his 2 shotguns, Mackenzie and Rachel, and began his massacre. He first turned toward Victoria, a 25-year-old co-worker he'd written about in his journal. "I don't hate Victoria, but you gotta go." Within seconds, the peaceful grocery store became a crime scene. And the chilling part? Everyone online had seen it coming, but no one stopped him. Randy looked up. His eyes met Kristan's. For a few frozen seconds, they just stared at each other. Kristan couldn't move, her mind spinning, trying to make sense of what she was seeing. And then, without a word, Randy turned and walked away. Some reports say they made eye contact right after he shot Victoria. Others claim Kristan didn't hear the shots at all, that Randy silently stood just behind her for several seconds, watching, his shotgun still warm, before moving on. Either version is chilling. In the next aisle, Randy found Brian, firing multiple rounds from a distance, 3 of them fatal. Then he went after Terry, the oldest worker, shooting him twice as he tried to flee. Meanwhile, Kristan was still frozen in disbelief. It didn't feel real, like some kind of twisted prank. But when she finally forced herself to move, she ran to Victoria, shaking her, whispering her name. Victoria still had a pulse, but barely. Realizing she was on her own, Kristan grabbed her phone, calling 911 right there in the aisle. She could hear more gunshots echoing through the store as she sprinted toward the self-checkout area, heart pounding, trying to keep track of where Randy was, praying he wouldn't find her next. In the next aisle, Randy found Brian and opened fire from a distance. Shots tore through Brian's arm, chest, groin, and head, 3 of them fatal. Moments later, Randy hunted down Terry, the oldest worker on shift. Terry was shot twice, likely as he tried to run. Meanwhile, Kristan was still frozen in disbelief. It didn't feel real, just noise, chaos, and silence. When she finally moved, she ran to Victoria and shook her, whispering her name. There was still a pulse, but it was weak. Kristan realized she had to get help, now. With trembling hands, she dialed 911, whispering from between the aisles as more gunfire echoed through the store. Then, she bolted toward the self-checkouts, trying to track where Randy was. When she saw his back turned, she sprinted for the front door, reaching past the pallet he'd shoved in front of it. The lock clicked, but the door wouldn't budge. Panicking, she slammed her shoulder into it again and again until it finally slid open. She burst into the parking lot, gasping, adrenaline surging. But she wasn't safe yet. Spotting Randy's car nearby, she turned and ran uphill into the dark, desperate to disappear before he could follow. Kristan hid behind a bush until help arrived. While she escaped, Randy stayed inside, finishing his plan. He'd already shot all his co-workers except Kristan. Now he fired wildly across the aisles, shattering glass and blasting at propane tanks, hoping for an explosion to take the store, and himself, with it. But the tanks didn't ignite. When it was clear the chaos wouldn't spread, Randy calmly walked into the deli section and took his own life. In just minutes, he had fired 59 rounds from one shotgun. His final tweet read, "Goodbye, humans. I'll miss you. 3 people were dead. Only Kristan survived. She's never understood why he spared her. Maybe after looking her in the eyes, he couldn't bring himself to pull the trigger." When investigators searched his home, they found boxes of 12-gauge ammo, goggles, notebooks filled with violent sketches, and his computer. Together, they revealed a man unraveling, fixated on death, identity, and fantasy. The tapes he released that night were the clearest window into his mind. In them, he rambled for hours, sometimes laughing, sometimes crying, worried his parents would throw away his posters after his death. Even while planning a massacre, he obsessed over keeping them for the fans. "Give these posters to fans," he said. "They're special." I autographed the backs. They're worth something. In other recordings, Randy seemed baffled that nobody had noticed his descent. "The warning signs were always there," he said, "all right in front of your face. Welcome to reality." By this point, he'd lost all grip on it. He claimed the cartoon character Ember was a goddess guiding him, and that he was destined to join her. He filmed himself in his car, calm and smiling, while his co-workers inside had no idea what he was about to do. Hours before the attack, Randy even emailed the voice actress from his fan series, thanking her and saying that by the time she read it, he'd be dead. In the email, he insisted his videos had a true purpose, something only he could understand, likely tied to his belief that death would return him to his animated ghost world. After the massacre, his videos and journals became grim evidence of his transformation. From a quiet, awkward creator into a delusional killer convinced he could live on as fiction. His final animation, the Westboro High Massacre, featured the same guns he used that night and even shots of the grocery store itself. What was meant as his legacy was mocked online for its poor quality, but it exposed how far gone he really was. As investigators dug deeper, they discovered Randy's bitterness toward his father, who managed the very supermarket he attacked. The resentment ran deep. He felt judged, pressured, unloved. When his autopsy came back, new details surfaced. He was wearing black makeup like Ember's ghostly eyes, women's clothing beneath his uniform, and had ingested a massive dose of Benadryl, enough to cause hallucinations, confusion, and tremors. It's possible Randy was hallucinating that night. Maybe even seeing the cartoon figure he worshipped. We'll never know for sure. In a later interview, Kristen said the man who did this wasn't the Randy she knew, that he was mentally ill and slipping for years without anyone realizing. That's the haunting part of this story. No one saw it coming. And maybe the only thing left to learn from it is to never ignore the warning signs when someone's world starts to unravel. "The warning signs were always there," he said. "All right in front of your face. Welcome to reality." By this point, he'd lost all grip on it. He claimed the cartoon character Ember was a goddess guiding him, and that he was destined to join her. He filmed himself in his car, calm and smiling, while his co-workers inside had no idea what he was about to do. Hours before the attack, Randy even emailed the voice actress from his fan series, thanking her and saying that by the time she read it, he'd be dead. In the email, he insisted his videos had a true purpose, something only he could understand, likely tied to his belief that death would return him to his animated ghost world. In the end, there were no answers, just silence. A grocery store turned into a graveyard, and a young man who thought death would make him a ghost instead became a monster trapped in history. The saddest part? It didn't happen overnight. Every drawing, every journal entry, every cryptic post online, they were warnings, loud ones, but nobody listened. Randy Stair's story isn't about one tragedy. It's about how obsession and loneliness can twist reality until fantasy feels like the only escape. He wasn't just chasing a cartoon. He was chasing a world where he finally mattered. Music rises slightly. But in the real world, people mattered more. The co-workers he laughed with, the family who thought he'd grow out of it, the viewers who thought he was harmless. They all became ghosts long before he did. This case is hard to watch because it blurs the line between victim and villain, dream and delusion, isolation and insanity. It forces us to ask the question, how many warning signs do we ignore every single day? For every Randy Stair that makes the news, there are thousands more falling apart quietly, behind screens, behind smiles, behind locked bedroom doors. Sometimes, the difference between a tragedy and a second chance is just one person noticing. Music builds. Heartbeat like percussion begins. If this story made you feel something, anger, fear, sadness, let it also remind you to look closer. Check on the quiet ones. Ask the hard questions. Because evil doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks lonely. Music softens to a single piano note. This has been another case on The Last Line, where we uncover the moments that define life and death, and everything in between. If you want to see more stories like this, deep dives, real recordings, and breakdowns of the cases most people are afraid to talk about, subscribe now, tap the bell, and help keep these stories alive. You're watching The Last Line. And remember, sometimes the most chilling truths are the ones hiding in plain sight.